Hello everyone, my name is Gabby. Welcome to my channel. And so it's been about a little bit over a month since me and my new husband got married. It was a beautiful day and everything that we could ever ask for. But in today's video, I really wanted to focus on the wedding planning process. You know, we just finished doing everything like a little bit over a month ago, so everything's still kind of fresh in my head. And I wanted to share with you guys some of the wedding planning tips that really worked and helped us throughout our wedding planning process. You know, I'm not a planner, I'm not a super organized person. I'm very laid back and chill, and I kind of didn't want to take on this daunting task of wedding planning. If I could and I had the means, I would have definitely gotten a wedding planner, but because we were on a budget, we kind of had to do everything ourselves and figure everything out on our own. I know personally I heavily relied on videos like this to kind of guide me through the wedding planning process, since I generally had no idea where to even begin, especially in the midst of COVID and a pandemic. It made things a little bit more stressful than usual. I had no idea what I was doing most of the time, but these are some of the things that really helped us throughout the way to plan our wedding, and hopefully they can help you in the midst of your wedding planning process. So let's just get into it. So first tip that I want to tell you guys, this is kind of something that you should do before you start any of your wedding planning process or before you start emailing out any of your vendors, is to create a whole separate email address just for wedding related things. I saw this tip before when I was in the beginning of my wedding planning journey, and I just thought, you know, that's too much of a hassle. Like, it'll be fine, like I can keep myself organized, and you know, it won't be too big of a deal to just handle all the wedding emailing through my personal email. But boy, was I wrong. It's definitely not that much work to create a whole new email address. I don't know why I didn't do this, but it'll honestly save you so much, and especially just to keep things organized, and just like it'll make it a lot easier to just find emails, because you're gonna be emailing so many vendors, so many people, that it's gonna be hard to kind of keep track of everything. So having a separate email address really will save you in the long run. But if you've already started emailing people, emailing vendors with your personal email address, don't worry, because I was on the same boat, and this is kind of what I did to help me get more organized within my personal email address. So within Gmail, you can create something called label. It's honestly so easy to create a label. I think you just go on the side and put create new label and just name it wedding, and you're done. I've already kind of been using this feature, but just to keep yourself more organized, as soon as you start emailing vendors or wedding related anything and the emails start coming back to you, just right away click it and put it in your wedding label, and you know, that way it doesn't get kind of mixed with your personal emails, and it'll be easier to find because everything will be kind of in that one little wedding corner, so you know where everything is. Especially just to find and look back at these emails, especially when you're starting out to email different vendors. Like for cake, for example, I email like 5 different cake businesses, and you know, just to try and go back and forth, see which one said what, it'll be a lot easier to just have it in a whole separate email address that does not get confusing and bundled up with your personal stuff. Will make your life a lot easier. But if you haven't, just use that tip with creating a new label within your personal email address and just transfer everything over to that. So next tip would definitely have to be to use the With Joy website. This was a lifesaver for us. We knew that we wanted to create a wedding website with all of our details on it, and With Joy really provided everything we wanted. I'm not sure if for certain things you had to pay, maybe for some certain upgrades and stuff, but for what we used it for, like, it was 100% completely free. So the With Joy website lets you create your own wedding website, like I said, and it also lets you send out wedding email invitations, plus a lot more other stuff. Like the With Joy website has a lot of tools that you can use, but these are mostly the 2 things that we used it for. We really were grateful that we had that ability to send out email invitations, because COVID wedding, like down to the wire, I believe maybe 3-4 weeks before our wedding date, we weren't even sure whether or not our wedding was happening. So we had sent out save the dates a few months back, also using the With Joy website, but we still weren't for sure whether or not our wedding was happening. wedding, and like 3 weeks before our wedding, the government here in Ontario was like, yes, you're allowed to have weddings. So it was like, okay, it's go time, like everything's happening. So we weren't allowed to send out mailed out invitations, so we really had to rely on email invitations. So we were glad we had that feature because it made our lives so much easier, especially since there was like such little time from when we sent out the invitations to our wedding date. And with the With Joy website, before you sent out any kind of invitations, like your save the dates or wedding invitations, you have to input all of your guests' information. So name, last name, email address, that way you can send out the invitations. And it was also great for that reason because we were able to have all of our guests kind of in like one place, so we can always look back and reference to. And within the website as well, once we sent out the invitations, we were able to see who had opened it, who had accepted, declined. If someone had not responded, we were able to send them like a gentle reminder saying, hey, like, are you coming? And when we sent out our invitations, we were able to also put on there like what they wanted for their meal: chicken, fish, steak. And then once they answered all that, it was all automatically inserted in that kind of like an Excel sheet. And the guests are also required to put in their home address, so that when we sent out our thank you cards, we had everyone's address there. So that was really great and super helpful for us. It helped us to keep us 100% organized. And you know, it is easy and user friendly. Like, to create our website was an extremely easy task, and we had fun doing it. You just kind of had to choose a template that you liked, and it already has the questions to answer. So it really kind of guided you throughout the whole making your website process. Having that website was a really great resource for our guests. They were able to, you know, kind of learn a little bit about us. And then we also had some information for our wedding date, like the address of our venue, what time the ceremony was, what time the reception was. So yeah, it was something that was really easy, and especially with COVID, we really relied on it, and it kind of was a lifesaver for us that we were able to send out our email invitations and save the date through the website and do everything online. So you can't go wrong with using the With Joy website. I mean, it is free, it helps you to keep you organized, user friendly, and it's a nice source to like have all of your guest information in there. And it's a nice way for your guests to look into your website and find out any kind of information that they do need for the day. So since we're talking about being organized, another great organization tool that we did use was actually a Google Sheets template, and it was free as well. So this is definitely one that you will use a lot and reference to back a lot. So you just go on Google Sheets and you click template gallery at the top and scroll down, and you will see one called Wedding Planner. It really helped us to keep us organized and on a budget. There's many tabs within this Google Sheets template. One of them was budget estimator, where you can input how much you want to spend on a photographer, videographer, dresses, hair, makeup. You can input all of this information and make sure that once you're messaging all the vendors and they give you the prices, that you can look back and see, okay, this is how much we can spend, this is too much. Not only does it have budget estimator tab, but it also has everything else you could really need for wedding planning, including a seating chart, a day of schedule, and so much more. Honestly, this was like our Bible in a way. I think we use all the tabs that was in this wedding planning template. And it's also great that it was on Google Sheets, because both me and my husband could go in it, change things around, like look at everything, even if we were not in the same room. You can also share with friends, family, anyone else that is like helping you with your wedding planning, and anyone that you share with can input things or change things. So definitely, to keep yourself even more organized, I would definitely go ahead and look into using the wedding planning Google Sheets template. Okay, so next tip would have to be to get vendors that are recommended by people you know, or that you've seen at other people's weddings. So you can for sure know that they're 100% good at what they do, especially weddings. When we were looking for DJs, we really wanted a Latino Spanish DJ, because 99% of the people that were coming to our wedding were Latinos. So we really wanted someone that knew that type of music. I did a lot of research trying to find a DJ that was Spanish, and I eventually came across this one DJ that he was Spanish and was able to provide DJ services for our wedding. But once we got to talking to him a little bit more, he said, you know, I don't want to do MC services. I don't do that. So it kind of left us a little bit stranded because we needed an MC for our wedding. So we kind of were like, what do we do? This Spanish DJ that we found, he was more of a club DJ, and I guess that's why he didn't provide MC services. And we thought, okay, maybe, you know, he's not used to DJing weddings, so we had to move on from him. And we actually went with a vendor that was recommended by the venue. And this is also another thing that I want to mention, is that if your venue has a list of recommended vendors, I would 100% look into those, because all those vendors have worked at venue before. Like, your venue wouldn't recommend them if they didn't know them. So you can know for sure and 100% that, you know, these vendors know the venue, know what it's like. And a lot of the times they have like some sort of deal, like the venue and the vendors. So once you go to the vendor that is recommended by the venue, they sometimes will give you a sort of discount for having your wedding at that venue. So we actually got lucky and emailed the DJ that was recommended by the venue, and we are so glad that we did, because he's worked the venue before. He knew where the room was, he knew where to plug in, he knew where the ceremony space was. So it was great that we didn't have to explain everything to him. So we were comfortable to book him as our vendor for the wedding. And it was also a great perk that we had a little bit of a discount with using him. And we also use a recommended vendor, or a vendor that we've seen before at our friend's wedding, and it was their cake lady. When we went to our friend's wedding, we saw their cake, we saw how beautiful it was, how good it tasted. So when I was in the midst of finding someone to do our cake, I messaged my friend and I was like, hey, who was your cake person? Like, I definitely want to contact them and see if they can do something for us. And eventually I contacted her and we got to talking, and we did end up going with the recommended cake lady that my friend had used for her wedding, and we're so glad we did. It was the most affordable cake that we could get. But there is going to be many cases where you can't find recommended vendors, or maybe the ones that your venue gives you are not exactly the kind of vendors that you want. We had this happen to us as well. I mean, it is going to happen and you're going to have to do this, but you know, you really just have to do your due diligence and like a lot of research on these vendors. I stalked them completely once we got to that initial conversation and we were thinking about booking them. I stalked their Instagram, their Facebook, read all the reviews everywhere, Google, Facebook, Wedding Wire, until you're really comfortable with your decision. Look at their portfolio of their work, and if they're in social media, to me that was like a big plus. If they were like constantly posting on their Instagram or their Facebook, I just felt more comfortable and I could really see more of their work. So if you can, when booking your vendors, try to go with some that are recommended by friends or family, or ones that you've seen in person at other people's weddings, or try to use the ones that are recommended by the venue, because sometimes they might give you a bit of a discount. You can know for sure that they're 100% good at doing weddings and maybe working the venue that you will be using. But in any case that you don't have like a recommended vendor or someone that you really want to use, you just gotta do a whole lot of research, talk to them, just really do your due diligence until you're 100% sure that you're comfortable with booking with them. Me and my husband were on a budget with our wedding, so we really had to be smart about where our money went and how much we wanted to spend for each thing, each vendor. So if you are on a budget like we were, I would understand that you would have to really cut your budget from certain things here and there, but I would definitely recommend not to cheap out on a wedding videographer and photographer. I mean, your wedding day is true what they say, it's gonna go by so fast and in a blur, so you're really only gonna have these pictures and these videos to look back on your wedding day. I mean, our wedding was only a month and a bit ago, and I don't know, I would say like once a week I look back at the pictures, I look back at all the videos that we have, and it honestly like brings back all these emotions and it makes you remember the day very fondly. I mean, we didn't spend a lot of money on our videographer or photographer, so we did quite a lot of research, a lot of emailing back and forth with so many photographers, and we did find people that were a little bit more of a beginner photographer that were like really affordable. Usually the beginner photographers, they are photography people that are just out of school, they want to build up their portfolio, so they definitely have a lot more affordable pricing. We were almost about to go with someone that was in that more of a beginner level. Like, their pictures were good, but we weren't 100% sold on them. In the midst of all of our research, we found, like I said, the beginner, more affordable photographer, and we also were emailing with photographers that were like really expensive, and we didn't get that much in return for how much we were paying, so we didn't feel like that was worth it. So for us, we didn't go with the most expensive, but we also didn't go with the most affordable option. We wanted someone that was like right in the middle, and you know, we really liked their pictures and their videos that they shown us, and we felt comfortable with the decision. And honestly, we're so glad we kind of did the middle guy, like not the most expensive, not the cheapest. We were so happy with that decision that we made, because now we have our pictures back, and honestly, we look at them all the time to just try to remember that day, to take us back to that moment. If you really can't do the middle tier photographer, going with the more affordable version is also really great. I would just say don't skip out on a videographer and photographer. Like, don't just rely on your family phone pictures and videos, because you're really gonna regret it. At least have that affordable photographer, those fresh out of school students that are looking to build out their portfolio, because they are truly good. So it's better to have that than nothing, because once your wedding day is over, you're only gonna have your pictures and your videos to look back on, and you honestly won't regret it. Okay, so those were all of my tips. I know there were only 5, but these were the 5 that I felt were really important and really helped us to plan an amazing wedding. I know if you're watching this, you're in the midst of your wedding planning process. I hope some of these tips will help you with your wedding planning journey. I'm so excited for you and what's to come. I know wedding planning is stressful, and take it from a girl like me that is not a planner and doesn't like doing any of that sort of stuff. So if I can do it, you can 100% do it, because at the end, it's all about marrying your best friend, your partner for life, and celebrating the love between the two of you. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next video.